All right, a very good afternoon to everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all in today's session of Code Without Barriers series, a platform where we learn, grow, and get inspired by the journeys of professionals who have carved unique paths in their fields. So today we are joined by someone who truly embodies the spirit of growth and impact, Keerthana. Whose work spans across different multiple fields like AI, Gen AI, etc. So, with a remarkable track record, I would like to welcome Keerthana. Over to you.
Thank, thank you so much, Kamya, for having me. It's really great. And yes, today we are diving into MCP. This concept is currently buzzing all over the internet. Everybody is so curious to know about what MCP is actually all about. And so, yeah, today I'm here to take you into the world of MCP. So when you hear what MCP is, everyone just tell it's a model context protocol. But what exactly it is? So let's see what exactly it is. MCP is an open protocol that standardizes how our LLM application connect to the work with our tools and databases, which is nothing but in a very simple world. MCP is just a connection between an LLM and a data resources. LLM and an API. So if you think as an universal connected that bridges the gap between AI models and the real world. As I mentioned, MCP is a context protocol. So here I told about APIs, right? REST APIs is a standardize how web application interact with the backend, right? So why do we use API in general terms? We use it to connect the front end and back end, right? So and then here we have LSP, which standardizes how IEDs interact with the language specified tools, and here MCP standardizes how AI application interact with the external system. MCP follows a same successful pattern as a foundation protocol. Without MCP in today's AI development, it is very difficult. Especially for each new AI application, developers should create a separate custom built pipelines. When I say this, like we do have when we develop something, we do have we do have to create a multiple functions. We'll have to write a lot of code for each and every function, and then connect to API and gain a lot of function which connects. So what MCP is doing here is it's directly interacting with an API and our LLM model. So that acts as a bridge between both of that. Custom costume implementation for each integration, custom prompt logic for every use case, custom tool call for every services, custom data access pattern. That is what I was trying to tell. Without MCP model, this is what we do before MCP. So this is an application one that we are creating, and we do have a custom implementation, we do have a prompt logic, and we do have custom tool calls, and we do have custom data access. So this is what we do in a source side, right? This process is repeated, and for every single application, this leads to inefficiency and difficulty in scaling. Since we are writing every single code, which is really customized, and lot of coding says everything is high. This is really inefficient, and the scaling really becomes difficult when it goes to production level. With MCP standardized AI development, the life has become very easy for a developers. To be honest, we do have a LLM, and we do have a protocol, and we do have server. I mean, this is the architecture that we are currently following. So basically, we do have MCP server. Later on, I'll take you through the architecture of what exactly we are following, but it's in a very simple perspective. We have LLMs and we have an interface and we have a data resources. This is how the interaction is done with MCP standardized AI development. This is the architecture. LLM in the sense you can make use of OpenAI, Gemini, Cloudly, and many other MCPs. And then major interaction would be our MCP servers, that is nothing but our query to fetch the data and then create, update, contact, managing, and other application interaction. And also our vision control MCPs, that is nothing but our management. And also like the data is getting passed from this to our SQL, NoSQL, MongoDB, and all this. And from MCR, it is going to MCR system, and from visual version control MCP server, it is going to version control software. That's how the standardized API development resources is currently. So it's just one application that connects a multiple separate servers through one single standardized protocol. So I am constantly telling a lot of this terms, right? I'm telling MCP server, I'm telling MCP client, I'm telling MCP protocol. What exactly it is? I'm quickly gonna give you a simple example. What exactly an MCP server is? An MCP server is nothing but a data store, uh, data stores that we generally use. That is nothing but your query, where you fetch data and you have a lot of database from the database. And we also have CRM MCP server, which is nothing but managing your contacts and opportunities in MCP systems. And we have a vision control MCP server, that is nothing but your get and getter. For each server, there is specialized one domain but follows the same protocol standards. So, in this particular MCP, whatever we do, we can just reuse everything. One server, multiple applications. So that's the main advantage of using MCP server. It's just one server for multiple different applications. A single Google Drive MCP servers can be successfully accessed in multiple perspectives. For example, I have an MCP compatible AI assistant, that is nothing but a chat interface and virtual assistants I can use for that, and also for autonomous task executions, and also for developing the environment and productivity of the tools. With MCP servers, we can use for the for the various AI applications. That is nothing but when I want to use an uh, MCP used AI assistance. So I'll be uploading something through my Google Drive, which which is nothing but a Google Drive MCP server, and then that will be connected to my uh, AI agents and many other things. So this is how the architecture looks like. With MCP servers are usable by various AI applications. So what is the benefits of standardized AI development? So we majorly have four benefits for AI application developers. Developers can easily connect the app to any MCP servers with zero additional work. So that's so easy, right? And also for tools, AI developments, build an MCP server once and adapt. It will easily adapt to the every environment. For AI application users, AI applications have an extensive capacity of out of the box. And for enterprise level, it's clear separation of the concepts between AI products and terms. So currently, MCP ecosystem is growing very fast, very rapidly. So AI applications for agents, that's where we are using this a lot. Currently, this number was currently in the month of May, and now we can add one or two k more. That's how fast we are using it. Server builders, and we are counting on definitely, and enterprise level, internal and external level, both open source contribution, definitely for open source contribution. So it's time to really adapt to MCP if you're building any of the AI applications. And the common questions what we come through is, who authorized to MCP servers? Anyone? Often the service provider itself will make it their own MCP implementation. You can make MCP server to wrap up all the access and to make some service. How is it using an MCP server different from calling services API directly? So this is also a question that I need to since we are live. So in MCP server, we provide a tool, system, schema, as well as a function, right? If you want to directly call an API, you will be authorizing it to those of your own. Sounds like MCP servers and tools uses are same thing. No, it is definitely not. MCP servers provide tools, schemas, and function already defined by you and standardizes the interface. So this is very interesting. The birth of MCP. So everyone will be just thinking that MCP was born like somewhere in 2025, since everybody is hearing a buzz up in 2025. But the actual reality was MCP was born on, during the November 25th. That's where the revolution began, and the story is really interesting if you know about the story. So MCP was announced on November 25th, and it was completely open sourced. In December, early adapters joined, and in March 2025, uh, OpenAI adapted MCP. That's where the popularity began. And then now in May, we have 5K plus servers. But currently, it's more than that. It's becoming massive. And Anthropic, they are the ones who made the bold strategic move. They open the source immediately, and by creating this into industry standards. Major players who's currently using MCP are like the major companies like OpenAI, Google, DeepMind, Microsoft, and all these companies are currently using. So yes, uh, real world transformation definitely, on enterprise level, development level, web development, data access, block user MCP for the internal AI assistance, and like Wix is also adapting it, and data access definitely. Why MCP conquered the world? Why is everyone running behind MCP? The answer is because it was a right timing for them to come up into a picture. It's like a very perfect timing. If you're a company who's building an AI agents, this is something which can save you from many complex things. Right timing, AI agents needed a better connections, which got one. Right company, Anthropics developer, definitely. Right strategy, open strategy from a day one. Right design, build on a proven pattern. I'm gonna take you into this design as well. Don't worry, it's so amazing if you know about this story. On a track to suppress an open API adoption by July 2025. So this month we can definitely expect this. Future is connected. What next for MCP? It's definitely enhance security, but for the better authentication and authorization, and then definitely remote service, that is cloud-based MCP service, more SDKs for sure, support for every programming languages, universal adoption, uh, and then the vision, the world where AI agents can seamlessly connect to any data source, any tools and systems, just plugging into USB-C cable. When I just say this particular sentence called vision, so I'm just gonna quickly take you through a small story of this USB-C cable. Say you have everyone has a different cell phones, different Android cell phones. Few have uh, iPhone. So a very common problem when we think about charging a cell phone is our USB-C, right? So we have A type, we have B type, we have C type, we have many types of cables to charge the cell phone. So here the idea is to have a same USB-C, that is a C cable, so that we can connect to every devices that we have. That is exactly what our MCP is doing currently. That's where MCP is trying to solve the problem. Welcome to MCP revolution. Now you understand the fundamental problem of MCPs and what it is trying to solve and its revolution impact. Next, let's dive into MCP architecture. That's where the story gets more interesting. Yeah, the story which I was trying to tell, MCP revolution, how Anthropic created an USB-C of an AI and changed everything. It's an untold story for sure. Once upon a time in a AI land, there was a problem which was going on. Every AI model needed a custom connector for every data source. Developers were trapped in an integration hell, definitely. At least I was trapped. And then AI model remained isolated from a real world data. Imagine needing a different charger for every devices on your own that has an AI integration before MCP. That's where Anthropic comes into picture. While building a cloudy, the team realized something fundamental. What if we could create a universal standards? One one protocol to connect them all, like one USC, but for an AI application, open, standardized, and future proof. That's really interesting. So again comes the story which I already explained before, right? Anthropic, they made a bold move and they made it open source immediately because that was a common problem which was faced by every developers. And then the magic begins of, so we do have an AI client that is nothing but our LLM, that can be our Cloudy, GPT, Gemini, and many other LLMs. And MCP protocol is nothing but our JSON file, whatever we upload, and then MCP server is nothing but our data resource, which is again inspired by Microsoft Language Service Protocol. There are three core primitives, which I say three core astras, that is nothing but the tools, resources, and prompts. When I just highlight these three. Please, think that these are the major three astras that we are constantly gonna use while doing MCP. That is nothing but your tools, resources, and prompts. I'm gonna take you deep into this for sure. The domain effects begins. The major players start falling in a line. That is nothing but our OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Microsoft, and many other such brands. What starts an Anthropic internal solution became an industrial standards. So yeah, this is again a storyline, and this is the track record that we are doing. Again, we went through this, the transformation of an industry, that is in an enterprise level development, web development, data access, desktop. MCP isn't just a protocol, it's also a foundation of all AI connected future. So this is where our industry is currently in. MCP ecosystem continues to evolve for sure. I'm talking a lot about all these topics because this is something that we see the future. Enhance the security, remote services, more SDKs, universal adoption. This is it. The, is this the end or just the beginning? It is just the beginning. For sure. You can see a lot of things coming up ahead. MCP proves that something the most powerful innovations come from solving our own problems and then sharing the solution with the world. That's how MCP was born. MCP revolution is just getting started, as I mentioned. So I've been telling about the architecture and entrepreneur a lot. Let's see what how the architecture looks like. So the architecture is very simple, very clear, and it was this is the most popular architecture to dive deep into. I'm sure everyone must be aware of client server architecture, the foundation of the connections. Understanding how MCP was designed and enables for the universal AI connectivity. So, AI architecture philosophy. MCP follows a time-tested pattern that has powered the internet for decades. Client server architecture has been really empowering all of us. I mean, it's the very old trial tested working architecture. The same architecture was used, which is built on a proven foundation inspired by Microsoft's language server protocol using JSON RCP 2.0 for communication, designed for simplicity, scalability, and security. This architecture is specifically meant for 3 S's. Yes, cube also, that's how I remember. That is nothing but simplicity, scalability, and security. Sometimes the most revolving idea come from a specific established patterns for sure. Client server architecture, I'm telling about client server architecture a lot right throughout my video. So yeah, this there you go. That's your client server architecture. We do have an MCP client, we do have an MCP protocol, and we do have an MCP server. MCP client is an AI application host. When I say MCP client, please remember that it is the LLM, that is nothing but your OpenAI, Gemini, and Cloudy, and many other such LLMs. And protocol, it is JSON. And when I say MCP server, that is nothing but your data. providers, that is nothing but your SQL, MongoDB, NoSQL, and all this data resources. This is a very simple client server architecture. So whatever you prompt, the tools and everything, this is your host, and then that that goes to an MCP protocol and then to a server. Very simple, clear, crisp architecture. So yeah, host, as I mentioned, it's the LLM applications that wants to access data through MCP. Example: Cloudy, Desk, IEs, and AI agents. So this is your MCP agents. Sorry, I'm so sorry. That happens. This is your host, the outer one, and we do have MCP servers that are lightweight programs that exposes a specific capabilities through MCPs. These and then MCP client for sure, maintaining one-on-one connection that the server inside the host of an application. So here we have a clean separation of the concepts. Client focus on AI intelligence and the user experience. Server handles the data access and the tool functionality. Protocol ensures a seamless standardized communication. So the task, everything is completely crisp and clear. It's clean, completely separated. In MCP client, we do have all these things. Client responsibility, host, that is the large language module, that is nothing but our LLM, Claude, GPT, Gemini, which I am specifically telling a lot. Okay. Manages connects to the multiple MCP servers, handles user interaction and requests, and also maintains a security boundaries. The client acts as an intelligent conductor for an entire AI experience. and and also diving into MCP server capabilities provides a server responsibilities that is nothing but uh, with that exposes to a specific capabilities through standardized primitives and manages connection to external data, handling authentication and authorization, process requesting and returning the structure for the responses, maintaining data security and access control. Each server is each server is specialized gateway to a specific domain of the functionality. There are three core primitives. Remember, when I just tell three primitives, this is nothing but the three astras which I mentioned. That is nothing but tools, resources, and prompts, building blocks of MCP. So these three astras are called building blocks of MCP. That is nothing but tools, resources, and prompts. In tools, it is nothing but an executable functions that API can call to perform actions. That is nothing but simple API calls, data queries, and files. When I say tools, it is nothing but in API calls and data queries. When I say resources, you have to remember about things what you can upload. That is nothing but a document, database, file configuration of the file. Structured data that provides a context to AI model, that's your resources. And definitely prompt templates, that is an interaction that guides an AI behavior. Example: workflow templates, system instructions, and all these things. There are three primitive works. There are three primitive work together to create a rich contextual AI experience. So now you're wondering how's the communication flow. So have MCP message flow, that is nothing but a request, processing, responding, and integration. So this is how we have the uh, message flow. That is nothing but a client sends a request to a server, and then server processes a request and access to the resources. Now server returns back the structured JSON response, and then client integrates data into AI context. So it's bidirectional for sure. So it's both the ways. Both client and server can initiate the request in enabling the rich interaction experience. Transport and security for sure. It is built for security. Three S cubes, which I meant security, scalability. So yeah, definitely it is the main purpose agenda was the security. So it transports work over studio http web sockets for the production level authentication. It supports a multiple mechanisms, isolation, clear boundaries between a client and server for sure. No API keys required. Server control their own resources. They do have that. Security is built into a protocol from a ground up. Scalability by design. So servers servers per client, stateless protocol, high performance, enterprise ready. It's architecture designed to handle thousands of connection and massive data flow. That's why it was designed. The real world implementation, that is nothing but in today's production cloudy desktop enterprise tools development, IEDs, web applications from a prototype to production. MCP architecture scales seamlessly. That is, even if you take a cloudy desktop in a local MCP service for a file system access, and when you also see about enterprise tools connecting with an internal database and also APIs, and when you take about a web development, IDE is a real-time code context and a virtual control. That is nothing but your Git and GitHub. Web applications, dynamic content manage and editing. From why this architecture wins? Because it's always a win-win architecture, which has been following since ages. It's proven. So, for example, because we can reuse for reusability, security, flexibility, and also scalability. This is very important when you choose this. You have to remember how we can use one server, infinite clients. We just have one server, one MCP server, and we do have many clients. So security, controlled access boundaries for sure, scalability, enterprise grade performance, and flexibility. One transport, any languages. So the whole website that you're seeing today, because of LLMs, I was able to completely create this within just 30 seconds. That's where we are today currently because of LLMs. So make use of LLMs like the way you want. I was literally not in a mood of creating presentation PPT, so I just wanted to like put put a little hands on and brainstorm around the PPT making through via coding. And guess what? Everything that you see here was done with LLMs. That's where we are. And summing up the entire presentation today, what we learned, that is nothing but an MCP, which is not a real time API. I think that concept is very much clear. Like, be very clear. Your MCP is a medium which connects your LLM and your REST API. So LLM is the one which actually understand your own natural language. That is, if I prompt something in English, LLM understand the prompt of what I am telling, that is a pure English, and also MCP is something that understand our REST API language. That is, whatever you query, whatever you put, it understands everything. So that's where MCP comes into picture. It acts as a bridge between an API, REST API, as well as LLM. So that is your MCP. Don't get confused comparing that with your REST API and MCP. MCP is completely different from API and LLM. So this is a bridge which talks between both API and your LLM. So that's a clear cut picture of an introduction to MCP. So that's the reason we call it as model context protocol. So yeah, thank you so much for your attention, coming through us with this journey and understanding what MCP is. I hope this was useful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Keerthana, and I'm pretty sure it was such an intensive and such a well prepared session that we had a lot to take from this. And yes, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, especially listening to her. And I'm pretty sure you might have grasped a lot of things regarding MCP. So yes, that's what it for today. And thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, Keerthana, for this amazing session. Have a great day ahead, everyone. Bye.